What happens when an unthinkable crime just completely shatters the perception of a country that's seen as almost perfectly safe?
Yeah, it's a tough question and not something most people think about daily.
Right. But for one nation, it became this, well, chilling reality. Today, we're going to share this story, a really powerful and honestly deeply unsettling story of Birna Brjánsdóttir. Her disappearance just profoundly affected Iceland. You know, a country famous worldwide for having an incredibly low crime rate.
Almost non-existent, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to explore how this one incident, this single disappearance, actually transformed how a whole nation thought about safety. And it led to one of the biggest search efforts they'd ever seen.
It's quite the story.
So when you think about Iceland, what comes to mind? For a lot of people, it's this like dream destination.
Absolutely. The landscapes, the nature.
Picture this large island, right? North Atlantic, part of the Nordic group, kind of nestled between Greenland, Norway, the UK. It's about 102,000 square kilometers. Just for context, that's like 5 times smaller than Thailand, but still the second largest island in Europe.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that big relative to other European islands.
Yeah. And it's got that famous nickname, the land of fire and ice.
Right, because of the volcanoes and the glaciers, side by side almost.
Exactly. And tourists, they love it. Stunning natural beauty. It's quiet, that cool climate. Even in summer, it barely hits 25 degrees Celsius.
Sounds refreshing.
Yeah. Then people go for the northern lights, whale watching, relaxing in the Blue Lagoon. It sounds pretty idyllic, doesn't it?
It really does. And what's amazing is how that beauty seems reflected in, like, their society, too. Icelanders consistently rank among the happiest people in the world.
High quality of life.
Yeah, high average income, the economy's strong steel, aluminum, seafood exports. But here's the thing that really makes Iceland stand out, the crucial point for this story. The crime rate is almost non-existent.
Like 0 some years.
Effectively 0, yeah. Which means any crime, even something small, it instantly becomes national news.
Wow.
So that just leads to the big question, right? What actually happens when a country that's basically crime-free suddenly has to deal with a major disappearance? Something completely out of character for them.
It sounds almost theoretical, like a thought experiment.
But it wasn't, no.
For Iceland, that abstract question became this just devastating reality with Birna Brjánsdóttir. Let's talk about her. She was born November 28th, 1996, grew up in a suburb of Reykjavík.
Which is the capital, right, where a good chunk of the population lives.
Yeah, about a third. And by all accounts, she was just this vibrant person. Cheerful, bright, funny, very independent, super friendly.
Sounds like someone full of life.
Totally. Loved meeting new people, hearing their stories. She loved music, too. Everything from folk to hip-hop.
Yeah.
And like a lot of young people, she enjoyed the city nightlife in Reykjavík.
Yeah.
Little shops, cafes, pubs, restaurants.
It's just a typical young woman enjoying life.
Exactly. So let's set the scene for when she disappeared. Friday, January 13th, 2017. Birna's 20, working as a fashion sales assistant. She lived with her dad in a suburb, but saw her mom too. Parents were divorced, but she was close with both.
Okay.
After work that Friday, she met up with friends at a local bar, their usual spot. They hung out, played cards till around midnight.
Sounds like a normal Friday night.
Yep. Then they decided to head to a nightclub, danced, had some drinks till about 2 a.m. But then, here's the key moment. Her friends wanted to leave, call it a night.
But Birna wasn't ready.
Right, she was still having fun, so she decided to stay on her own. Stayed until about 5 a.m.
And this is where that Icelandic context is so important. Walking home alone at 5 a.m. in many places, that would immediately raise red flags.
For sure.
But in Iceland, completely normal, totally safe, or at least perceived as totally safe. Even in January, sun doesn't rise till 11 a.m.
Wow, that late.
Yeah, but they have CCTV everywhere, good streetlights. There was this deep sense of security. So Birna's seen on camera, walking home, all bundled up. It was minus 9 degrees Celsius.
Everything.
Oh, yeah. Wearing black jeans, black Dr. Martens boots. Remember the boots?
Fun.
A gray sweater, black jacket. She even stopped and bought a lava pita sandwich.
It's like a late night snack.
Exactly. Just a normal moment caught on camera.
Okay.
The very last time CCTV sees her is 5:25 a.m. She's on Lagavegur, the main shopping street in Reykjavík. And then she just walks out of the camera's frame.
And vanishes.
Pretty much.
So the next morning, Saturday the 14th, that's when the worry starts. Birna's supposed to be at work, but she doesn't show up.
Okay.
Her colleague, Maria, knew Birna was really reliable. Like, never missed work. So when calls just went to voicemail, Maria felt something was wrong straight away.
Instinct.
Yeah. She called friends. No one had seen her. Then she called Birna's dad. He checks. She's not home. Calls her mom. She's not there either.
Oh no, the panic must have set in quickly.
Instantly. Within hours of her last being seen, family and friends report her missing to the police. They blast her picture all over social media, start calling hospitals. Nothing.
Yeah.
No trace.
Just gone.
Gone.
So the first real breakthrough, that came on January 15th. The police managed to track the last signal from Birna's phone. It pinged at 5:50 a.m. on Saturday the 14th.
Okay, about 25 minutes after she was last seen on CCTV.
Exactly. And the location was Hafnarfjörður. It's this industrial port area about 10 kilometers south of Reykjavík.
An industrial port. Why would she be there?
That was the immediate question. Her family, her friends, they were adamant. She had absolutely no reason to go there. It just didn't make sense. And, the lead investigator, Officer Guðmundur Karlsson, Officer Gim, his first thought, given Iceland's safety record, was maybe it's just a typical missing person case.
Like she wandered off, or maybe was intoxicated and got lost.
Yeah, or just wanted to be alone for a bit. He wasn't immediately thinking foul play, which really shows how ingrained that feeling of safety was, even for the police.
It's incredible how context shapes perception, isn't it? But even with that initial thought, things started moving fast. Public concern grew. Volunteers wanted to help.
Right.
Police started digging through all the CCTV footage from Reykjavík. And back at that last spot where Birna was seen, they noticed a red Kia Rio.
The car.
Yeah. They couldn't be sure if she got in, but it was there right around the time she disappeared. And this is where ISAR comes in.
The Search and Rescue Association.
Yeah, ISAR, the Icelandic Association for Search and Rescue. These guys are amazing. It's a volunteer organization, but incredibly professional. Over 5,500 trained members, divers, mountain rescuers, urban search teams. They have vehicles, aircraft, serious stuff.
Oh, all volunteers.
All volunteers. So ISAR teams started searching that Hafnarfjörður port area where her phone last pinged. It's kind of a derelict place, lots of spots with no cameras. And they found something.
The boot.
The boot. A single black Dr. Martens boot. They later confirmed it was Birna's. Matched the CCTV footage perfectly.
Okay, so now they have a physical object belonging to her, found in the area her phone last pinged. That changes things dramatically.
Absolutely. It connects her disappearance to that specific location.
And that discovery really ramped up the investigation. Then came another critical piece of CCTV, this time from near the port itself.
What does it show?
This footage was from 6 a.m. on Saturday the 14th, not long after Birna's phone pinged. It clearly shows that same red Kia Rio parked. A guy gets out of the passenger side, looks pretty drunk, and stumbles onto this big Greenlandic fishing trawler docked there, the Polar Nanoq.
Okay.
Then the red car just drives off. The police, they managed to zoom in, enhance the footage, and they got the license plate.
A rental car, right.
Exactly, a rental. They traced it quickly. Rented by a guy named Thomas Møller Olsen, 25 years old. A fisherman, crew member on the Polar Nanoq.
The same ship the drunk guy got onto.
The very same ship. So now they have a name connected to the car scene where Birna vanished and connected to the port where her boot was found.
Okay, this is getting serious. But wait, Thomas rented the car. Who's the drunk guy he dropped off?
That was Nikolaj Olsen, also a fisherman on the Polar Nanoq. Turns out, same last name, but no relation. Just a colleague who was extremely intoxicated.
Got it. So Thomas drops off Nikolaj, drives away. What then? This is where it gets crazy.
Yeah, this is where the timeline gets really alarming for the police. Because after dropping Nikolaj off, Thomas returned the rental car, and then he got back on board the Polar Nanoq.
Yeah.
And the ship had already sailed. It left Iceland. It was heading out into international waters on its way to Greenland.
Oh my God, so their prime suspect is literally sailing away.
Yeah.
Out of their jurisdiction.
Exactly. A race against time. Police immediately got the rental company to bring back that red Kia Rio. As soon as they opened the door,
The smell.
a really strong chemical smell, like someone had tried desperately to clean it. Forensics went over it meticulously, and they found it. Faint traces, but it's definitely Birna's blood.
Oh.
On the back seat. Yeah. At that point, hopes of finding her alive just plummeted. So you've got the suspect sailing away, and now clear evidence of blood in the car he rented. What do you even do?
How do they handle that? It sounds like an impossible situation.
It was completely unprecedented for Iceland, but news travels fast, even out at sea. Word got back to the Polar Nanoq that Thomas was a suspect, that Birna's blood was found in the car. Thomas himself heard it,
What do you say?
denied everything, said he had nothing to do with it. But here's where something truly remarkable happens. The captain of the Polar Nanoq,
What did he do?
he made an incredible call. He turned the ship around, turned the entire 65-meter trawler around, and started heading back to Iceland.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that. And get this, he turned off the ship's Wi-Fi. He was worried if Thomas knew the full extent of the news, he might panic, maybe try to escape, maybe even harm himself.
Smart thinking.
Very smart. He told the crew they had engine trouble. That was the cover story. It just shows, the determination to get answers.
That's extraordinary. A civilian captain making that call.
It really is. So, finally, January 18th, 11 p.m. at night, the Polar Nanoq docks back in Iceland. And the Viking Squad Iceland's special police unit, they were waiting.
Right there on the dock.
Right there. They boarded immediately and arrested Thomas Møller Olsen. They also arrested Nikolaj Olsen, the drunk guy, just to be thorough.
Who, it turned out, knew nothing.
Exactly. He was so intoxicated he had no memory of anything significant and certainly no involvement. He was cleared later.
That captain's decision really stands out. What does that say about, the Icelandic sense of community or justice? Just taking that massive step.
It's deeply ingrained, I think. A sense of responsibility, maybe, trust in the system, wanting to do the right thing even at personal or commercial cost.
So Thomas and Nikolaj are in custody. Interrogations start.
Yep. And initially, both deny everything related to Birna's disappearance. Nikolaj's story is, patchy, because he was so drunk. He remembers bars with Thomas, but then it's just blank.
Understandable. What about Thomas?
His first story was much more detailed and pretty questionable. He claimed that after dropping Nikolaj at the port around 6 a.m., he picked up 2 women, Birna being one of them.
2 women.
Yeah. So he drove them somewhere, secluded behind the port, got in the back seat, and had a consensual sexual encounter with both Birna and this other mystery woman for about an hour.
Okay. That sounds convenient.
Extremely. Then he claimed he just dropped both women off back in the city, went somewhere, slept for 4 hours, returned the car, and got on the ship like nothing happened.
Right. How did that story hold up against the evidence?
It fell apart pretty quickly. Remember the cleaning supplies? Police found out Thomas bought strong cleaning agents and plastic bags before he even dropped Nikolaj off at the port.
Before. Not after the supposed incident.
Before. When they asked him why, he claimed Birna had vomited in the car, so he needed to clean it. Again, very convenient timing.
Doesn't really fit, does it?
Not at all. Then, investigators examined Thomas. They found scratches on his chest, looked like fingernail marks, consistent with a struggle.
Okay, that points away from consensual.
Definitely. But the really damning stuff came from the ship, from Thomas's cabin on the Polar Nanoq. In his trash can, Birna's driver's license, broken, with Thomas's fingerprints on it.
Wow. Just threw it in the trash.
Yep. And they also found a huge stash of drugs in his cabin. Hashish, apparently worth around $2 million, so that opened up a whole separate drug trafficking angle.
So he was involved in more than just this.
Seems so. And then, the final nail, really, Thomas's DNA. It was found on the shoelaces of Birna's Dr. Martens' boot, the one found at the port.
Is DNA on her bootlace?
Yeah. No denying he had direct physical contact with her or her belongings around the time she disappeared. So all this evidence just painted a picture of a violent interaction and a desperate cover-up attempt. But they still didn't know where Birna was, or even for sure if she was alive.
So the evidence is piling up against Thomas, but Birna is still missing. What happens next?
Iceland launched just this unprecedented search, January 21st, 2017, exactly 1 week after she vanished. It became the largest search operation in the country's entire history.
The largest ever.
Ever. It wasn't just the police in Iceland, the National Guard got involved. And an incredible 800 extra volunteers just showed up. Ordinary people.
800 people. That's amazing for a small country.
It's huge. They covered the island, the coastlines, nearby areas, used 87 vehicles, helicopters, sniffer dogs.
Man.
Just a massive coordinated effort. It felt like the whole country was looking for her.
More than just a search, like a national statement.
Exactly. Like a refusal to accept this could happen there without moving heaven and earth to find answers.
Well, did they find her?
Tragically, yes. The discovery came the next day, January 22nd, just before noon. A helicopter search team spotted something on a beach. Near the Selvogsvidi lighthouse, it's an area with these distinctive black rocks.
What did they see?
A body. A naked, pale, female body lying on the black sand beach. Because of the cold Icelandic weather, the body was relatively well preserved. Forensics quickly confirmed it was Birna.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Heartbreaking. The autopsy results? They were grim. She had severe, blunt force trauma to her face, ligature marks on her neck suggesting strangulation.
So she was strangled.
Possibly attempted strangulation. but the official cause of death was drowning.
Drowning. So she was alive when she went into the water.
That's the horrifying conclusion. She was likely attacked violently in the car, maybe at the port, badly injured, maybe strangled, but still alive, and then thrown into the freezing ocean where she ultimately drowned.
That's just horrific.
It is. And importantly, the autopsy found no signs of sexual assault, which makes the motive even harder to grasp. Nikolaj, meanwhile, his lack of memory about Birna being in the car was consistent with his intoxication and reinforced that he wasn't involved.
How did the country react to finding her body, knowing what happened?
It was devastating, obviously for her family and friends, unimaginable grief. But it hit the entire nation incredibly hard. It felt like a collective trauma, like that sense of safety had been fundamentally breached.
I could only imagine.
There were thousands of people marching, leaving flowers where she was found. Her funeral was this huge national event, held in Iceland's biggest church. Over 2,000 people attended. The president, the prime minister.
Wow.
Even the crew of the Polar Nanoq expressed how incredibly sad they were. It just united everyone in grief and shock. And Nikolaj Olsen, he was formally released, completely cleared.
So what happened with Thomas legally?
Things moved pretty quickly. March 30th, 2017, Thomas was formally charged. Murder and drug trafficking. The trial started in August.
Did he maintain his innocence on the murder charge?
He did. Denied the murder right through. Only admitted to possessing the drugs. He even changed his story again in court, saying he only picked up Birna, not two women. But the evidence was overwhelming. In November 2017, the verdict came in. Guilty. Guilty of Birna's murder. He was sentenced to 18 years in prison.
18 years. Did he ever say why? What the motive was?
Never. To this day, he hasn't revealed why he did it. No sexual assault, no apparent prior connection. Just this brutal, seemingly senseless act of violence. And that absence of motive, especially in a place like Iceland, just leaves this lingering, deeply unsettling question mark.
Yeah. So what does this all mean? For Iceland, I mean. How does a nation like that process this?
Well, even in the safest places, this case was this brutal reminder that terrible things can happen anywhere. Iceland did respond. They looked at strengthening security measures.
Trying to protect that sense of safety.
Exactly. But the story, it's not just about the crime, it's also about the nation's response, their resolve. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Even in the safest corners of the world, how do you balance that feeling of security with, well, the need to always be aware, always vigilant?
It's a really powerful thought to end on.
It is. And the dedication you saw from the police, those hundreds of ISAR volunteers, that ship captain making that incredible decision, it just highlights how a community can pull together, how they can face something unimaginable and still strive for justice. But ultimately, it reminds us that while we value collective safety, our own individual awareness is always, always that crucial first layer.
A sobering but important reminder. Thank you for walking us through this incredibly difficult story.
Thank you for having me. It's an important one to remember.